Welcome to Morning Combos with Ali Sheen.
Welcome to Morning Convos. I'm your host, Ali Sheen, and on today's episode, I'm going to discuss the I'm Sorry Democrats. Now, Michael Bloomberg is the latest Democrat to say I'm sorry for the past deeds that today just doesn't jive with the Democratic voters. Specifically, they're upset with his stop and frisk program. The policy, even though it did lead to lower crime in New York City, was attacked by leftists because African Americans and Hispanics were disproportionately targeted by this policy. Bloomberg is the latest Democrat to go on an apology tour, but he's not the only one. Mayor Pete Buttigieg had to apologize for firing the first black commissioner and continuing to cover up possible corruption with that in the police department. Recently, he torpedoed his own campaign when he sent out emails heralding the support of over 400 black Americans for his Douglas plan. And the Douglas plan is Mayor Pete's attempt to garner some black and Latino American support with programs and things that's supposed to empower and uplift them. But even though there are some elements of the plan that are beneficial, ultimately the plan falls short of what is necessary for either demographic. And the failure of Mayor's plan is not surprising. When you take into account his shameless pandering that he do like drinking up a brown bag with some black guys in a park for a photo op, or tricking South Carolinians into supporting his Douglas plan, or making it appear as if they were supporting his Douglas plan. What his party did was send out emails about the plan and gave an option to like opt out of the email. And if you didn't opt out of the email, then it was like you was agreeing with the Douglas plan. So you see, he just I don't like him. He's really deceptive. He's really a snake. He also lied about the 400 black supporters of his Douglas plan. Come to find out that the names of out of the 400 people that the black people that's supposed to be black supporters, 62% of those names were white. No Democrat in the modern era has won the presidency without black and Latino support, and Mayor Pete does not have that. Will never have that. He just won't have it. Mayor Pete is now polling at 0% in the black community in some states. I mean, he only has 6 black endorsements. Hell, the politicians in his own state, even his own city, has not endorsed him. And that is very telling. He cannot find one black politician in his state or city to support him. His shameless pandering has been in vain. He did this all for nothing. I don't even think he really cares if he gets it. I mean, he cares because he needs the thing, but if he could win the presidency without it, he will try, which is impossible, but he's going to try. And speaking of being shameless, Elizabeth Warren had to apologize for her claims of being Native American. And then the fool took a DNA test to defend the lie. When you think about it, it's hard to find things she hasn't lied about. She lied about her parents having to elope because of racism against her mother, who is white. Why are you laughing? Everyone knows all the racial discrimination white had to endure in this country. So stop laughing. She wasn't lying. She also lied about being the first nursing mother to take the bar exam in New Jersey, which is total bullshit simply because the state doesn't keep records of dumb stats like that. She lied about being a single mom when she met her second and current husband. She lied about not accepting PAC money. She lied about getting fired from her teaching job because of her pregnancy. So as you can see, Elizabeth Warren is a two-faced liar, and neither of those faces is Native American. Even the father of the modern-day socialist movement, Bernie Sanders, had to say, "I'm sorry too." He said, and I quote, I certainly want to apologize to any woman who felt she was not treated appropriately." Speaking of his 2016 campaign. The apology came after a series of sexual harassment allegations against top male campaign staffers of his. But it hasn't been our 2020 candidates alone apologizing. We have Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring, who wants you to know from the bottom of his heart that he is deeply, deeply sorry for wearing blackface in college. And just 5 days after he gave this apology, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam had to say, "I am deeply sorry for the decision I made to appear as I did in that photo of me in blackface in 1984. Something is definitely wrong in Virginia, because in the midst of both of those scandals, Governor Justin Fairfax was accused of a sexual assault in 2004, which he do deny. And he also was accused of dropping an F-bomb at a meeting about this situation, about this sexual assault. And besides that, we also had two former 2020 candidates that also had to apologize. One was Senator Kirsten Gillibrand from New York. She had said she really regretted some of her previous pro-gun and tough on immigration positions. Because Democrats like open borders and they want to take your guns. Just ask the next person on the list, Beto O'Rourke, who apologized for everything from being white to child murder fantasies. And yes, he had apologized for writing child murder fantasies. We also had, going back to the 2020 candidates, we have Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who produced an apology video, a whole video, saying she was deeply sorry. They always sorry. Deeply sorry. For her old remarks about homosexual extremists. And then we have Kamala Harris, who had to apologize for her decision to imprison parents while prosecuting parents for their children's truancy. She also decided, was accused of withholding exculpatory evidence and had a reluctance to correct prosecutorial misconduct. And even though she did apologize for these things, she really didn't accept blame. She essentially just blamed people on her staff. It was always someone else in her office, or that it was never her. Even though she's the only one, and she wants to run for president, but blames everyone under her for things that happened under her leadership. And I'm not even gonna get on. That's why I don't like her, and she's not gonna win. But I just had to bring her up because she's another one of the Democrats. And finally, we get to who the mainstream media claims is your Democratic front runner. I'm talking about Uncle Bad Touch himself, Joe Biden. Joe Biden has had to apologize for not caring about or understanding what personal space is. He's been criticized for it and had to apologize for the crime bill, for which he, before I even go into the long list of things he did, let me just play this video that will have all the things that Joe Biden has apologized for.
Never make any big gaps. You guys love saying that about me.
But often his handsiness and comments.
No, Daisy 30.
are likened to those of a crazy but lovable uncle. But as they veer toward the more bizarre variety, it's raising questions about appropriate behavior for someone eyeing the White House.
So earlier this week, Biden publicly used the term Shylocks in reference to aggressive money lenders. But it's a word considered anti-Semitic, a reference to a ruthless Jewish lender in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice.
He said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains. In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
Once again, the curse of Biden strikes.
I've gotten to know you well enough. You want me to stop because I'm embarrassing you.
Pardon me?
Every 10 minutes there's a shift in sort of what the strategy is. Again,
Who gives a It's a large, very identifiable Somali community. There's an awful lot of driving cabs, and are friends of mine, for real. I'm not being solicitous. I'm being serious.
Only 15 Somalis live in the entire state, according to the Census Bureau. And Wilmington cab drivers told CNN they knew of no Somalis driving taxis.
The vice president called the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi today to clarify remarks he made last week during a forum at Harvard.
Our biggest problem is our allies.
I said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony here, or walk out, put that double-barrel shotgun, and fire 2 blasts outside the house. All this stuff about how different Barack Obama is, they're just not used to somebody really smart. They're just not used to somebody who's really well educated. Tried to be, in my career, I've always tried to make a human connection. That's my responsibility, I think. I shake hands, I hug people, I grab men and women by the shoulders and say, you can do this. And whether they're women, men, young, old, it's the way I've always been. It's the way I've tried to show I care about them and I'm listening. And over the years, knowing what I've been through, the things that I've faced, I've found that scores, if not hundreds of people have come up to me and reached out for solace and comfort, something, anything that may help them get through the tragedy they're going through. And so it's just who I am.
Young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. I'm the guy that said, rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it.
While at Syracuse Law School, Biden was involved in a plagiarism incident. He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation. He was given an F, but appealed to the faculty and allowed to repeat the course. He got a B. This comes in the middle of another controversy about plagiarism in Biden's campaign speeches. Today, he dismissed charges that he routinely adopts phrases from other politicians' speeches, called it much ado about nothing. Essentially, Biden said, everyone does it.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous.
But to the political community in Washington, it all seems of a piece. Plagiarism at law school, plagiarism on the stump, for example.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
This is how it sounded when Robert Kennedy said those words in 1968.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
That our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship.
President John Kennedy's inaugural, 1961. Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising.
Democrats have apologized for everything but their disastrous policies that have led to increased poverty and their divisive rhetoric that has divided our country more so than ever before, even the Jim Crow era. They seek to divide and conquer this nation so they can fulfill their fascist, authoritarian, wet dreams. And we patriots must not ever let that happen. But I'm running out of time. I'm trying to keep these podcasts under 15 minutes. So I'm going to stop this one right here. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Morning Convos. Enjoy the rest of your morning. Thank you.